Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to the sixth installment of SHFM's Conversations That Matter series, presented by SHFM's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. Today, our conversation will focus on allyship in action. My name is Lauren Jin. I'm a member of the SHFM DE&I Council, and I'm the Food Experiences Program Manager with ISS Guggenheimer. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Before we begin, I have a few quick reminders that you may have heard from previous SHFM virtual events. First, we want to hear from you. Please ask your questions throughout the session in the Q&A window in your toolbar. We've saved some time at the end for Q&A, so be sure to ask those questions throughout the session. Second, we would love to know you are here with us, so please drop a friendly hello into the chat box and share your comments in the chat throughout the session. We are recording the session, so it can be played on demand. The recording will be available on SHFM's website and YouTube channel later this week. And lastly, there will be a 60-second evaluation for the session that will appear in your browser when the event ends or you exit the session. Please be sure to share your thoughts with us as we continue to plan SHFM events. As a reminder, the opinions expressed by today's experts are not necessarily those of SHFMs or organizations represented, but key perspectives from personal lived experiences. I do want to remind everyone about the 2022 SHFM National Conference, which will take place October 17th through 19th at the beautiful Sheraton Denver Downtown Hotel in Colorado. If you have not registered yet, please be sure to register now. Today's SHFM educational programming was developed by your peers. I want to say a huge thank you to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for their tremendous work on this session. To provide some background on the council exists to foster an environment that embraces diversity and inclusion at all levels within the markets we serve. Our goal is to increase the diversity of membership, champion employment opportunities, and highlight and encourage procurement opportunities for minority-owned businesses within the food service industry. We also serve as advocates to bring awareness to diversity issues surrounding the workplace hospitality segment. Our goal is to assist, support, and encourage our members to better understand the importance of diversity and what it means to our organization and industry as a whole. As an example of the DE&I Council's work, SHFM members, please check your email this afternoon for the Council's Mentorship Toolkit. This toolkit is intended to be a quick start mentoring toolkit to support the creation and implementation of a mentorship program within your organization or at the individual level. This guide has been developed to serve as a roadmap with details on roles, expectations, exercises, and best practices that can be customized to foster a successful mentoring program and culture focused on developing future talent. Please be sure to spend a few minutes reviewing this really important work of our DE&I Council. I promise it will be well worth your time. In the United States, National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed between September 15th and October 15th to celebrate the achievements, diversity, and culture of Hispanic individuals and their contributions to our nation and society. The unique timeframe was chosen to be inclusive of Independence Day anniversaries of multiple Latin American countries. Today, we are thrilled to spotlight community members and allies as they share actionable strategies to unlock allyship in the workplace. With that said, I'd like to introduce today's session moderator, Kaya Gross, Executive Director of Sales at Verterra Dinnerware. Hey, Kaya, over to you.
Hey, Lauren. Well, first of all, great job to the amazing Lauren Jin. Good afternoon to everyone attending, and welcome to a conversation that truly matters. The dictionary defines ally as one that is associated with another as a helper, a person or group that provides assistance and support in an ongoing effort, activity, or struggle, often now used specifically of a person who is not a member of a marginalized or mistreated group, but who expresses or gives support to that group. And the definition of allyship is the state or condition of being an ally, supportive association with another person or group, and specifically such association with the members of a marginalized or mistreated group to which one does not belong. It's interesting that we have to have these conversations, but we do. And it's important to do that. So with that, I'd like to dive right into this and ask our esteemed panel, what does this mean to you? So today we have Chef Dayani de la Cruz from Sodexo Live, Laura Lozano, Senior Associate Project Manager, Innovative Hospitality Solutions, Natalie Santos, Vice President, Responsible Sourcing, Aramark, and Maureen Tarantello, Managing Director of WTW. Let's start. Allyship, or being an ally. What does it mean to you? Chef Dayani.
Well, hello, everybody. Super honored to be in this chair. I think it's amazing that we are creating a table to have this conversation. So thank you so much. I think for me, allyship is that, it's connection, it's support, it's to being able to teach. I think it's a two-way street. I look at it like that. I think I am an ally as much as I have many of them, people that have been in my side, on my corner of this world, especially in culinary. So I think that's allyship is for me. It's a two-way street that means teaching, mentoring, as much as supporting.
Beautiful. Laura, allyship.
Allyship, I like what Diane said, is that you can be an ally and someone can be an ally to you. And when we think about underrepresented people and groups and whatnot, it's not even necessarily about gender or where you're from or whatever. Sometimes it's the difference between being an extrovert and an introvert, and making sure in a group setting that the introverts are recognized as opposed to the extroverts that are always talking sometimes. And I'm sure all of us can have examples of times where a really good moderator, mentor, leader can really extract information, say from an introvert, somebody's going to be a little quieter in a group. And so I think of that as being, that's allyship as well.
I love that. Thank you. Natalie?
I mean, for me, I reflect on one of the oldest sayings, and one of my favorite sayings is treat others the way you would want to be treated. So for me is understanding that, people come from different perspectives and experiences. I have my own experiences, and I'm grateful for the position and the things that I have, but in any sense, in any day, that can change. And I think people need to understand that you really have to understand the fact that you can have a peer colleague that may not feel comfortable expressing who they are. So understanding that if you were in that position, what would you need and how can you relate to that and really provide that sense of security to that person, and simply just someone to listen and provide that comfort. So to me, it just goes back to, again, that saying of treat others the way you would like to be treated if you were in those shoes.
Fantastic. Maureen?
Thanks, Kaya. Natalie, I love what you said. For me, it means creating an environment where everyone can bring their full self. So it means listening, educating, bearing witness, and being present for people who have a different perspective, background, or preference. Finally, allies speak up. They don't stand inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. Thank you. What a great opening. Thank you, ladies, first of all, for volunteering your time to something that is very important to all of us. And with that, I'd like to ask you, Maureen, what did being an ally, or the term allyship, look like in the early 2000s, which is 15 years ago? And what does it look like now?
Definitely. Hopefully Kaya's not picking on me because I'm old, so kidding.
Whoa.
For me, it meant making a company-wide video as an ally for Pride decades ago when I was nervous about what would people think. And I did it because a colleague asked me to be an out ally from a position of authority. I did it because my best friend is gay and I would do anything to support her. I did it because my gay coworkers got sick and died in the early 80s and didn't do anything then. So, you know, I think today it means the same things. It just feels, I don't know if it feels easier to me because I started then, and so I've had a lot more practice and comfort with it. But you know, it felt a little more pioneering to do it back. I'd say now it doesn't feel, it feels like a second skin, natural, not, you know, not hard or not pioneering. But again, that's just my journey.
That's a beautiful one, and thank you for that. Does anyone want to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I think, you know, I arrived to this country 24 years ago, and coming from an island and coming from a different culture also, I was not exposed as much to it as well. And then you know, I found myself maybe getting, maybe wanted to be in alive and maybe not being in a position of being in alive itself. So I think what you've done, Maureen, it's probably laid a beautiful path for people like me that at that point felt maybe a little with my hands tied. And so I just want to say thank you, because 20 years down the road, I'm here probably reaping the benefits of what you've done. So thank you for that.
The beauty of paying it forward, right? Like someone did it for me, I can do it for you, and on it goes.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, you know, what Maureen said 20 years ago, it would have been scarier to do that. It takes a lot of courage to speak up when you don't know what the reactions are going to be. And I think one beautiful thing that comes with being older and with age is that you're kind of like, you know, I have to do it now. It's really important now. So it becomes easier. So what you did 20 years ago, Maureen, was awesome.
And I said I would not cry until 2:55. Ladies. Natalie.
Yeah.
What is an allyship moment that stands out for you?
Mm-hmm. For me, there isn't one specific moment. And we touched earlier on, you know, what did allyship look like, you know, 20 plus years ago? You know, I've been in a corporate role for almost 20 years. So 15 plus years ago, I just started, you know, my professional career. I was in my early 20s. You know, I'm first generation American. My parents immigrated from Dominican Republic. So there was a huge learning curve for me to get to college, understand just the framework of corporate America, you know, get to where I am now. So thinking back, you know, almost 20 years ago, there are all these little moments of individuals like Maureen, who were pioneers at that time, who me being in an environment that was predominantly, you know, Caucasian male, you know, those few individuals that, you know, for me looking back, they were an ally because they saw me as someone that maybe they noticed that I wasn't comfortable speaking up, or I was trying to say something in a meeting and they made sure that I was heard, or maybe someone made a comment that they felt like made me a little bit uncomfortable, you know, and they spoke up and said something. Again, being young in that type of environment, it's so important to have those individuals that speak out. Maureen, again, like you said, they speak out, they maybe were themselves outside of their comfort zone, but they saw someone that maybe need a little bit push or help, or that allyship. So that's what I think about in terms of the impact of that all these little moments had on me and helped me get to where I am. because now I reflect on that and I want to make sure that I'm that person for someone else. And I ensure that, you know, when I'm in meetings or when I'm in certain situations, that I'm observant of everyone around me to make sure that they feel comfortable. And if I have an opportunity to speak up, I will, because that's how important it is. Like, you know, you need to really see yourself outside of yourself and how you can impact someone's life, especially in a position where that person may feel like they don't have that opportunity to speak. So if you can speak out, it's definitely your responsibility to do that. So that's how I see it as, again, it's not one major moment, but it's just all those little things and those individuals, you know, 15 plus 20 years ago that were those pioneers that really helped individuals like me get to where they are now and be able to give back.
So for you, it's this culmination of
Mhm.
moments
Yes.
that have also created who you
Yeah.
are and how you lead by design now.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's the little things that everyone here can do, just being in a meeting or at a conference. And if you notice someone that's trying to speak up and they can't, or maybe you're in a crowd and someone said something a little bit, you know, off guard or, you know, maybe insensitive, you know, it's helpful and again, that could have been in an instance of that they just don't know. But if you have an opportunity to educate somebody, I mean, that really makes a difference. So again, it's like all those little moments that I think really helped me get to where I am and have that understanding and compassion that I want to be that for someone else also as I progress in my career.
Beautiful. And Chef, I feel like you're on the polar opposite of where Natalie is, right? Where she's in a
Absolutely.
corporate environment and now you're in a kitchen. Let's talk about the opposite of what you look like 20, 15 years ago. Are there any allyship moments for you that stand out from any viewpoint?
You know, I think I'm going to take it probably on the more realistic thing for me, which was a negative allyship for me. There's always some opposite things. 20 plus years ago, I didn't spoke that much English. And 20 plus years ago, I was involving myself with life, mothership, you know, trying to be a mom, trying to be a student. And I feel that the moment that marked me the most was the time where somebody will most definitely highlight the fact that my accent was too strong, or highlight the fact that I was too brown, or was too strong, or, you know, and all those little moments you miss to having an ally. And you sort of kind of start understanding the impact, because you know, Natalie, 20 years ago, when somebody says something about your accent, it's almost like you go home and you overthink absolutely everything. And even when you have the answer in the tip of your tongue, you will think about it 20 times. I've sat in front of a computer for 45 minutes typing one email, like going back and overthinking absolutely everything I was doing, on to the point where I put myself in a box. In a little square box. And I feel that was my impact of not finding an ally until you find somebody to give you that little strength of saying, you know what, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the run, you have to understand that you have something that is more valuable, and then you are that human that you are. But I lost my essence to all this, putting myself in a box. I lost who I was. And that for me was the moment that I felt it would be amazing to find somebody that actually taught me that for the first 2-3 years in this business. Like, Diane, who you are is what makes you who you are. Like, this is your strength. This is the human that you want to take out there, whether you have an accent, whether you don't know how to say, the differentiation between tire and tire, which for me is the same thing, and I didn't know how to say it. So that, I think it was the moment for me, allyship. It really clicked in. And then I figured out that maybe it was not about so much about how I was going to impact somebody, myself, but how much I could pick myself from the good things from the outside. And that's how my community became my strength. That's how speaking Spanish. That's what made me helping the people that knew a little bit less than me and bring them up into my journey. That's what I usually say, people doesn't work for me, people work with me. And I think it came from those years. We were all together, all pushing at the same time. You know, me as a translator. So that was fun for sure. So I think that's how I found my moments in allyship, where out of all the negative, something came out as positive.
Thank you for being so vulnerable, Chef. It's real. You know, it doesn't have to be a very new and current, unknown topic. It's real, whether it's somebody who might not be as expressive as somebody else, or what I believe Maureen or Laura had said, whether you're introverted or extroverted, or it's somebody with an accent. All that doesn't matter. And as an ally, we should be the ones speaking up for those who maybe don't want to or cannot today. But hearing your pain, Chad, it puts a real face to sometimes the behaviors we just as people don't pay attention to every day, and the harm that can cause. And that's why I thank you again, all of you, for being here. And since we're on this question, Laura, is there an allyship experience? You know, now we're hearing it from different versions. Is there a situation that you may have experienced that something in this subject matter speaks out to you?
I think when I think about allies, I think over my career, and even within SHFM, when I was new and kind of a young manager and whatnot, you know, some of our leaders made sure that we were included and got involved at a very young age. And I'm very, very fortunate for doing that. And I hope that over time I have paid that forward through mentoring typically young women when I can, to please get involved, and you're going to get a ton out of this organization if you do. And you know, where we've heard a lot, especially talking about SHFM, that it's very cliquish organization. And you can, you know, we can all walk into the conference or to a meeting and everybody's in groups, but to take a look around and see who's not joining and why aren't they joining, and you can find common ground there. That's really just paying attention, looking at cues and engaging, being intensely curious about people, what brings us all together.
So you brought up something interesting. You said, and I don't want to, and nobody throw anything. The word old means gorgeous, sexy, and fabulous. All right, we're establishing that right now on my call. Mm-hmm. Old is sexy, stunning, fabulous, no matter who you are and what gender you are. But you said when you were young, Laura. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to ask you, from your perspective, is there something in the marginalization and exclusion of people that you see throughout your journey and your career that on the other side of it, that people start to get excluded due to age?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was working for a big corporation once, and we had turnover in a very high profile job. And we had to hire someone right away. And I remember being shocked when my boss at the time and the senior HR person was looking through resumes. And these resumes, I had culled them already. And I thought, boy, we really need somebody who can bring it, step right in and all that. And they turned through the pages by page and said no. And the word about it was, they're too senior. And this was a very senior job with a lot of customer impact, and I was really shocked with how it was phrased and all that. And needless to say, I didn't stay there very long because I realized their values were very different than mine. You know, I understand it, and then I've seen it on the other end. When I was with a smaller company, a startup, trying to hire someone who was very young, and she didn't have a lot of customer service experience. And I wanted her in a customer service / kind of tech role with a lot of specialty there. And we didn't have any females in that role. I had to push very hard to get her hired. And it was a tough journey. She got hired. I hope that it was a positive experience for her. We're still in touch and good friends, so I think so. But it wasn't easy because
you were an ally
against the grain. Absolutely. So
that's just great perspective. So Maureen, based on all the replies that we kind of just went across, hearing from a first generation American, from an immigrant, and from somebody who has had a nice long visual career, what can you give us on the small things that we can do as an ally every day in all of these environments, coming across all these folks?
Sure. I love that phrasing of, right, small things, right? Not things that you say like, oh, wow, I'm really going to have to psych myself up to do these, right? So the first I would say is, I think, intensely curious, right? Smile when you're doing things or you meet people. It's welcoming when you smile. You're meeting a new person, right? Especially if they look different or they are different from you, just smile. Another is ask instead of assume. I ask a lot of times now. Sometimes people say, right, like, oh, they say a name and then they say, did I say that right? A lot of times now I'll just say, would you introduce yourself to me? Would you pronounce your name? Because right, like, people do that all the time. Maureen, it's right. If you didn't grow up right, like Irish and in Boston, that's a weird name. So just ask how to pronounce it. Right. Another one is, right, put your pronouns in your email signature. It's like an easy thing to do. And if someone doesn't care about your pronouns, you're not bothering them by putting that in your email signature. But then you're sending a message that you are an ally, that you are friendly, that you are safe space. Another one, I ask open-ended questions. So I don't say, right, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Right? I say, are you dating anyone? Because that is an open-ended question. Use a pride background or give clues that you're an ally friend so that people don't have to guess. And then you're allowing others to feel comfortable approaching you. Building trust by being, I love that statement Laura said, of intensely curious. So if you have judgment, I personally wish I had less judgment than I do, but in new situations, right, let curiosity trump judgment. And so curious than judgmental. Join an employee resource group as an ally. So I'm in, we have three employee resource groups, right? And I'm in all. So I'm in our OUT group, I'm in our women's, our gender equity network, and I'm in our multicultural network, right? I mean, the only one that I fit in is gender equity one, but I'm in all three because that's where I can add value and be an ally. And my final one would be, don't engage in inappropriate jokes. I love humor. Everybody loves to laugh, but you are sending a message if you laugh along, or if you just off and pretend that it was funny. Those are a few small things.
So good. I'm taking notes. Be the voice, smile, ask open-ended questions. And Natalie, Diane, Laura, anybody want to add on a small thing you can do as an ally? Just because, wow, I'm collecting nuggets. And thank you, Maureen. Yes. Natalie, any thoughts on that? Small things?
Yeah, I mean, Maureen had a pretty extensive list. Like one of the biggest milestones that I can say in my career, I have had the privilege, and I say it's a privilege, to actually be a founder of an employee resource group in my organization. So I definitely just want to reinforce that if you do have ERGs at your organization, definitely participate. it's an amazing opportunity to be intently curious and just understand more about your network and your organization and how you can support and be that true ally. And even with me, I founded the Hispanic ERG in my organization, and there are over 20 different countries that make up Latin America. So there's so many things that you can learn from other, Hispanic, Latinx cultures in general. So again, the diversity of the country, of the organization that you are a part of, there's so many things that you can learn on an everyday basis. So I did definitely reinforce joining an ERG, and if you're even able to, become a lead and a really active contributor, because I think that's the best way to really showcase what a true ally can be, if you're outspoken and really supporting those types of programs.
Natalie, I'm sorry, Chef, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I think, food, I'm in the right step, when you were talking about the resource group, we do it a little bit different. For me, it's about all connecting. I think we connect over the table, whether it's with home or not, as a family. I take it usually like that. Today, like I was telling earlier, we're going to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And the way that I call it is come grab a bite with us. I send it to all of our management from everywhere. And that's all it is. I just want you to just break bread with us, come and experience what it is to have great, Colombian empanadas, or, Dominican food, or just, some arepas. And for me, it's about that little space that we give people to even, and remember, I always feel like allyship, it comes from both ways. I'm going to continue saying that so much. It's a two-way street, because sometimes even on the other side, to support us or to support somebody that might need to, it could be that people don't feel even comfortable. They might not feel comfortable because they don't speak the language. I have 15 countries in my kitchen, including Haiti and Saint Lucia. And with that said, some of them don't speak the other people's language. So we are the United Nations. So somebody walking through my double doors and grabbing a bite with us, it might be, like you said, it might be in a smile. It might be the fact that you find yourself on the hallways and say good morning, bonjour, whatever you feel like, and buenos dias. So I feel my resource, just like you, Natalie, it's about breaking bread and making people feel comfortable around each other. And with that said, I feel like we open also the door to support each other. And when we do that, all barriers comes down. I don't care what anybody says. They will come down, because food, it's
absolutely, it's so true. You once we're enjoying food, everything else is solved. I always say that anything can be solved over some yummy food. I want to so much to process here, and I'm treasuring and valuing every one of your words, but I want to be cognizant. So much to still unpack. What is the difference between allyship and mentorship, right? Because you ladies, I'm in serious, I'm the presence here, accomplishments. I could see Maureen holding up signs in 2000. Natalie's opening new organizations, and Laura's guiding, and I know Chef very, very well. But then what's the difference? And Laura, if you'd like, we can start with you maybe, between being an ally and being a mentor.
In my experience, the mentorship has been about kind of people that have mentored me or that I have mentored. It's typically they've been through these experiences, whatever they might be, and can help you along. Allyship, sometimes, as Maureen was saying, it's small things, and it's here, there, and it kind of almost resides within you yourself. Whereas a mentorship, there's always someone else involved, and you can be an ally anywhere, anytime, no matter where you are. Versus in a mentorship situation or mentor-mentee, it's a two-way street, if not more. And so that's the big difference with me, in my opinion.
And Chef, what about you? I know you mentor people and you're a huge ally. Is there a discrepancy or a differentiation so that we can say to ourselves every day, this is where I'm a mentor?
It is absolutely, you know, in our business, at least in my business, is about your craft. So I can mentor you within my craft. I can most definitely mentor you, you know, and it doesn't need to be just a craft, but you know, I'm going to say this is a huge building. And I like to mentor in things that help. Sometimes we're almost like along with each other. You know what I mean? Is it food? It's something they have to do with what we do. I think allyship for me is like, you know, I agree with Laura. It's something that is very spontaneous too. I think sometimes you can find yourself, I don't know, making a line at the bank. Something might happen in front of you, and whatever that is. And I have found myself in that situation before. And, you know, and you just stepping in, whether it's translating, whether it could be an older person, it could be a younger person, it could be whatever. That is for me is allyship. So I think allyship is very spontaneous. It could be while you're driving, it could be a shirt, it could be something that you feel that day you want to represent and you want to tell somebody. I think it's a silent message sometimes as well. It could be you looking at somebody and you tell them that somebody, hey, you know what? I'm acknowledging you for whatever that is that you're doing. I'm here. And that goes such a long way. So, Maureen, you feel me, is that right? So I know. And that's all it takes. It takes that moment in time, and I think that recognition that says, we are here with you. You don't need to even speak. So I think it's very spontaneous, and it's a journey that sometimes we all have to take together. But for me, that's allyship. You don't need to choose. You don't need to speak. You don't need to put it anywhere. You just have to recognize and understand that you could be in a light at any time. Just very spontaneous.
Natalie, anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of reinforce a lot of what we've already said, you know, an ally, anyone can be an ally, and it's even more meaningful when it's in those moments where somebody doesn't expect it. Again, it can be that silent voice, someone that in that moment may feel like someone had said something to really impact their self-confidence. Like Chef Diana, you mentioned that, like, you know, like that, I felt that in my heart, just imagining like how hard you worked and somebody mentioning something that really kind of let you down, and you not having that person to help bring you back up and to let you know that, you know, that your work matters, and what everybody else says or that person says doesn't matter. So that's just an example of how important it is to be that ally in those moments where you see something, say something, where you feel like someone has a sense of discomfort and you can stand up for them, how important it is. So it's truly being that kind of silent hero for that individual in those moments where it can really mean something for them that they can reflect on and really help, you know, drive their progress, drive their self-confidence. So for me, that's how I see it. That's what I try to practice. And I think that's kind of what everyone is saying here, you know, being that silent hero and partner for someone in their moment of need.
100%.
Yeah.
Maureen, anything to add, or should I jump along? Just so much. I feel like I don't want to close and move on to the next question if you have something.
I think these women really nailed it, especially these points around, right? Mentorship many times is bringing your own experience into the relationship. So, right, if Chef could mentor me in the kitchen because, right, she is a better chef than I am, right? Whereas, right, I could be an ally to her across, right, her journey as a chef, right? I'm not bringing a particular experience in either, right, her career, but I could still be an ally where I'm supportive across. So I think that is just a nuanced difference of, right, like you don't need to be an or have a shared experience with someone in order to be an ally. That's the difference. The ally says, right, our shared experiences, we're all human beings, right? But I have not walked in your shoes and I didn't have that experience, right? And but I am working to relate and I care about you, right? Like that's the allyship, I think, compared to some of the mentoring.
Beautifully said. And it's true. You know, we don't always have to have experience. We don't always have to be guiding and leading. We just have to show up as humans.
Mhm.
And when you said smile, it's so true. Sometimes, you know, you just see somebody hurting, you know they're on a path. And if you just smile and open your eyes and don't avert your eyes, you're an ally. Maureen, if you could go back 20, go back as far as you want, years ago, and you had to talk to the same person who you were in this day, in this space, is there something you would tell her differently now than you would back then?
Yeah, of course, right? I would to be curious, that it's okay not to know, right? That kind of, as you said, I don't need to have the experience. I don't need to have the answers in all situations. I can be curious, right? And it's like Chef said on the, you know what, if I make a mistake or I use the wrong word in any situation, right? It's okay. Like, don't box, right? Like, your secret sauce of what makes you special is like, that's a big part of it. And so if you're censoring yourself because you don't feel like you can be yourself, then others are missing out on uh, your amazing talent. So I would just like be comfortable asking, and then I'd also be comfortable and say, you know what, I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm not going to say everything right. Like, sometimes I'm going to do something that offends someone. It's not because I'm trying to. And so if I do, then I learn, I'm curious, I ask why, apologize sincerely if I made a mistake. But like, not having like letting go of fear to be able to say, I'll embrace it. I'm willing to try.
Mhm.
And I think being an ally is also just being willing to try, right? Well, back to you, Chef. You know, we're talking about representation. We're talking about allyship. We're all on this journey. And I want to recognize what Lauren started out with. We are in the center of National Hispanic Heritage Month. Well, we're a little bit in, right? Would you provide us some perspective? And we have gotten a lot, but moving forward in your plan, leading Sodexo Live, and of course the amazing Miami area, from the eyes of a female, Latina, executive, regional chef, how are you implementing allyship with, other than the food, come grab a bite, but maybe in more circumstances like you had mentioned about the onboarding, how are you going to tie the pride of being who we are and in the day-to-day in the work life?
Right now, I'm gonna tell you what we're doing a little bit on the outside. It's about, I started with a mentorship. We have, and for me, I've always said, my grandmother used to starting young. So I'm working with high schoolers. I have worked with a program that is called the Taste of the Education. So it's just not about being anything. It's about everybody. This is high schoolers and middle schoolers. And we are kind of guiding them, whether it's you want to do culinary or not, kind of talking. I'm also part of a group that is called Women's of Tomorrow. It's I feel like I stepped into myself a little bit when I was in those age, high school times. And we're doing mentoring as well, not just for culinary, but mentoring period. We are also working with what we call the pro-human approach, which I'm doing something here directly in our stadium. Again, for me, when I look at allyship, as much as I love to be Latina, I look at allyship as a pro-human. I look at allyship all over. Some of the more amazing people that have supported me in my life are not Latinos. And with that said, I feel like my heart is everywhere. In that's part of what it is. I'm also looking into everything that we're doing in here, the more compassionate approach to what I'm doing as a chef. I feel like I'm coming from a business that continue pondering into every single one of us how we need to be so strong to actually to continue moving forward. And I am completely on the other end of it. And, you know, I've always said, call me crazy, but I get so much more done with the way that I'm leading, you know, the path right now. And it's with compassion and empathy of productivity, of understanding that this world is not what it used to be. And I get so much more with that. And that is, like I said, I think maybe what I want to say is that, you know, my approach to life and what I do as an Alexa Life, and, you know, I'm very outspoken about it, is as a pro-human. For me, that's what I would like to leave. That's what I think is the legacy that each and one of us has. And how do I, you know, implement allyship? Just being human. You guys nailed it before. That's what it is. Whether you are blue, white, yellow, whether you, I don't care where you come from. I absolutely embrace the fact that we are different. And at the same time, I embrace the fact that we all can teach and learn no matter what your age is. So
Thank you.
I have a great playground and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, you do. You make it fun. Laura, yeah, bring it to you. What would you like to share with the people who are following in your footsteps or even walking beside you?
And I think I would like to kind of go back to something Maureen was saying. If I could go back and talk to myself 20 years ago, and it would be to speak up and to have the courage. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. That was the most that is the most important thing, because I have found that people, we might not think they're going to listen, but they do. You know, our colleagues, our clients, or whatever they do, and you will be heard. Yeah, sometimes you might get blown off or whatever, but speak up. Don't be afraid to do it. And you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can be told no or go away or whatever, but speak up. Speak up on behalf of others when you can. I think that's the most important thing to me.
I love that. I think that answers both questions. What would you say to the you that came before you today, and how you would share that with those who follow in your footsteps? And that's beautiful. Speak up. Natalie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it goes back to, again, my parents who immigrated here. I mean, they taught me so many amazing values. Like, they didn't have, you know, the education or the corporate background, but what they did teach me, and again, they raised 5 kids in New York City, so they learned a lot of lessons along the way that came over to me and my siblings. But I think that the 2 main things that they taught me that I carry with me every day is surround yourself by people that you can learn from. And I think, again, that was very much driven by, they taught us everything that they could, but they knew that they didn't know everything. So they wanted to make sure that their kids had every opportunity to take advantage of everything that they needed. That's why they came to this country. So we needed to leverage support from others. So definitely surround yourself with people that you can learn from. And the second, which I think is so critical, is don't ever limit yourself. So in those instances where, again, somebody makes a comment where it might hit your confidence, or know that you're never limited to a zip code or an area, or just knowing what you know, there's so many other things out there. And I always feel that those 2 things, like surrounding yourself with people that you can learn from and not to limit yourselves, those are also 2 very key characteristics in being a good ally. Because again, it's a matter of kind of going outside of yourself, seeing yourself and the other person, how you can support. So 2 big ways that you can do that is by being curious and surrounding yourself by other cultures and things that you can learn from. And again, not to limit yourself. There may be an affinity group or an ERG that, again, you may not directly align to, but that's an opportunity for you to expand your perspective, expand your exposure. So again, don't limit yourself, and always surround yourself by people that you can learn from.
Oof, I love that. And we are so tight on time.
Mm-hmm.
So Laura, would you just share with everyone a highlight of your experience as a Hennessy traveler, and give us something?
Well, I want to ask everybody, if you're thinking about becoming a Hennessy traveler, please do that. I had been told for a long time that it's going to be the trip of a lifetime. It's going to be unbelievable and all that. And yes, it was, but the fact about being an ally and being a mentor and being an example and representation was my biggest takeaway. And it made more of a difference than I ever imagined, that people, young women especially, and young men who maybe were from other countries and or first generation, they saw somebody that looked like them, and it meant a lot. And they were very appreciative and would make every effort to come and talk to me. And also the acceptance by the very senior leadership that wanted to hear from us. And so if you can and can get the support from your company to do that trip, please sign up. You make a difference.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know what Enhancing Traveler is, it is one of the coolest. It's just when I grow up, that's what I'm going to do. But please Google that or check our SHFM toolbar and read up on that. But I have 2 minutes, and I would like to, I'm going to go in the same circle with Chef, Laura, Natalie, and Maureen. And I'd like you to give us your parting and final thoughts to everybody listening today on how they can take immediate action and even small action, and how to be an ally and how to provide allyship every day to the people around them. What is your direct message to anybody who needs to hear this today, Chef?
Look around your environment. And when you feel that little thing in your stomach, it means you need to do something. Whatever that person you're looking, whatever that feeling you're getting, it's a reflection of what that person is feeling with you. So be an ally, become an ally, regardless. Like, look around, and I assure you, I'm 100% sure whoever, you know what I'm talking about. As soon as you get that feeling, it means that other person needs you. So please become an ally. That's all I'm asking.
Laura.
You don't have to be a member of an underrepresented group in any way, shape, or form to be an ally or to be a mentor. We are fortunate to be in this industry with so many dynamic, smart, hardworking people, and what you say and who you recognize and how you recognize it makes a huge difference. And so while sometimes it's uncomfortable when people are speaking a different language, or maybe they're speaking English, but they're from a different generation, that curiosity about, hey, what's going on, it goes a long way.
Wise, I like it.
For me, I'll
Natalie.
end the way I started. Very simply, treat others the way you would like to be treated. Think about that every day. It's something very simple. If you're in a situation where you see someone, think about if that was you and how you can make their experience a little bit better. So treat others the way you would want to be treated. I wish more people thought about that every single day. This would be an amazing world.
It's neon sign everywhere.
Yeah.
Over
Yes.
some empanadas, though. Come
Yes.
on. We'd like some empanadas with that. Maureen, parting.
Yeah, seek people who are different from you and invest in those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren, have you been taking notes? Because I feel we are there. Whew. Ladies, we killed it. We nailed it. I want more. I want so much more. There was a question in the chat box. I want to acknowledge that. I'm sorry we didn't get to it because we are at that cutoff time, but we have an amazing support group in our D&I council, and we will find a way to answer your question. And if you have more questions, email us. Lauren will find the info at SHFM or Tony at SHFM. But I do want to say one thing, one parting thought to everybody who took the time to show up here today. What I ask of you is normalize the conversations. That is where we begin. Open up your questions. Welcome the conversations. Seek the answers. There are so many voices that just want to be heard. It's our responsibility as humans to be there for each other. And as everybody mentioned one time or another here today, we're humans first. So just by showing up here today, you helped us normalize the conversation. Thank you. I'm humbled. Chef, Diane, Laura, Natalie, Maureen, thank you. So much love to you. Lauren, back to you.
Oh gosh, Kaya, thank you so much for moderating this incredible conversation. I also want to extend a massive SHFM thank you to Chef Diane, Laura, Natalie, and Maureen for taking the time to share such fascinating insights with SHFM. Before we close, I want to share a common barrier to allyship, and that is moving past learning into action. So as Kaya mentioned, thank you for being here and actively listening to our panel of thought leaders and change makers. But don't stop there. Be on the lookout for our DE&I Mentorship Toolkit and identify the actions that you can take personally or within your organization. Reflect on the small things that you can do as an ally that our wonderful panelists mentioned, and start doing that right away. What might seem like small acts of allyship can actually make a really big difference when done consistently. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a 60-second evaluation for this session that will appear in your browser when the event ends. Please take the time, share your thoughts with us as we continue to plan SHFM events. And lastly, I do want to remind everyone about the 2022 SHFM National Conference, which will be taking place October 17th through 19th at the amazing Sheraton Denver Downtown Hotel in Colorado. I will be there. I hope to see you there. If you have not already registered, please be sure to register now. Thanks again to Kaya, our panelists, all of you who tuned in, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.